So let's talk a little bit about your songwriting process. And I think probably what everyone would like to ask you is what comes first? Do you start with
Yeah,
the harmony? Do you start with the melody, the lyrics? Tell us about your process.
yeah. Most of the time, because I feel like I'm primarily a guitarist than a singer,
Mhm.
a lot of it is a guitar idea. So if I'm just have some time to noodle, I'll just be playing and go like, and I'll kind of start with that. I kind of like that. I might have to work on that later. And got to get going, got to get moving, got to stay grooving. This time to dance, and just starting to do that, where a little bit of a musical idea, a musical theme, and already you can kind of feel like, oh, there's a little bit of an idea there,
Mm.
and then just start singing something over it, or I could, and that's a completely different. So that could be either I could there choose like this approach to the song or this approach to the song, or say, oh, this is going to be a verse idea, and this could be a chorus idea or a pre-chorus idea, and that's how I start with usually an idea like that. But I also love challenging myself
Mm.
and starting with, I'll say, actually today I'm going to be really intentional, and I'm gonna write without the guitar at all, and I'm
Mm.
just going to focus on lyrics today, or I'm going to sit down and actually sing the song, and sing a song out without writing with the guitar, and then I'll reverse engineer and come back to the guitar and go, oh, what chords am I actually building my song around?
Mm.
um, but that's usually how it is, and then every now and then I will get like a phrase or a lyric where I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, let's explore that, and I'll just pop it into my notes app, or just do a quick recording of a voice memo and just go da, 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 and then just leave it, and then come back to it at another day. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like what you said about it's like you do challenge yourself because it comes so naturally to you. You could probably anytime, any day write a song. Um, but setting those boundaries and challenging yourself so that yeah, I guess it's different. So let's say when you get your
Yeah, it makes it achievable.
yeah, when you get your idea, how long then does it take you to write a song?
Yeah, it can be like that, where it just starts to flow, and if you have a good chunk of maybe, an hour or two or three or four, you can really get a lot of the song. That's not always the case, and I don't always have the luxury of having that time,
Mhm.
especially in the season of life. So, but like for example, when I was still at home, like after I came back home from Berkeley, I could smash out a song in a day and actually be there and have all the instruments set up and the drum set, and just go like, okay, I'm starting at 10 and I end at 8. And at the end of the day, I actually have a fully recorded song with lyrics and a full idea. And that's super exciting and rewarding, but not always feasible. If you don't have the resources of the time and the studio and all that stuff. So I find, but usually for me, it usually takes a couple months, where I've gotten into this habit recently where I like to do kind of that initial burst and go blah, 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 and then just let it rest
Mhm.
and actually come back to it. So I'll do that, like do like a da, 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 burst, 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 burst of three or four ideas, and then I'll let them sit, and then, but if you get too many ideas going, it is a bit confusing.
Mm.
So I like to choose usually three or four that I'm kind of focused on, and then also making sure that they're not the same idea or the same thing is kind of crossing over.
Mhm.
But I found it's really helpful as well to let a song sit and actually let it sit for. It's really tempting when you've finished a song to go like, oh, I want to keep playing this and I want to record it now. But it's actually really valuable sometimes to like quickly do a voice memo of it, like record it in its current state, and then come back to it 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, and go, oh wow, yeah, I really like that. oh, now that I think about it, that little melody or that lyric could use a little bit of work. And then just kind of, yeah, actually be um, really systematic with approaching it and just sit down and go, okay, for this week, I'm going to work on this song and this song only, or these two songs. And I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to give myself 20 minutes or an hour and just go and go and go until I feel like that last little song is done. And so that's usually the way I kind of find it takes for me.
Mm, okay. So it sounds like I guess that's the word I was looking for, systematic. You have a system, you're disciplined with your practice and your writing. But what about times where you don't have the time to really sit down? Inspiration has to come. What happens then? Are there any funny stories you have of where inspiration comes from? Tell us about your different moments of inspiration.
Yeah. This is the one of the best tools we have. It's just like da 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 da. And I've got so many voice recordings on here. And I think like I used to be really precious with them and be like, oh my goodness, it has to sound amazing. And I have to like set up my microphones and like, and that's great if you have the time. And I do have seasons where I have that set up where I can just like go, okay, go. And there's something really special about that. But this is so useful. And I'll do videos as well. Actually, I do have here somewhere. I'll find it. Da, da, da. A really cool thing of this. So I got this tiny little camera years and years ago. And so it doesn't take great quality video, but it takes just enough so that the space isn't huge. And I've recorded so many ideas, and I just had this on a little tripod, did a little disc one, and I just leave it on my desk, and I would just hit record so that I could actually see, like, because sometimes you do something on the guitar or the piano, you're like, what was I doing there? So a visual sometimes is really good. And I'm like, wow. And so I have thousands of little clips of, sometimes they're like 30 seconds, sometimes they're a minute, sometimes they're 4 minutes of so I started doing this practice while I was in Boston. So I have years and years of that, which is so cool to go back and not only just document and see your growth and see your hair get longer and shorter, but that's really cool way. And every now and then I'll go back into the archives and be like, whoa, that idea from 2006 that's actually really cool. Why did I never develop that? And you can dig something up from then and start to work on it. But I'm in a season right now where voice memos is just such a great idea. And I think that's like something that's really cool that I think was it Charlie Puth put out an album. I think it was called Voice Memos, and it was based off of that. And I think he used some of the recordings of that. And Charlie Puth is also a former student of Berkeley and studied, I think, under Livingston and a number of guys as well. And yeah, so that's such a great way to do it. Notes on the computer, actually handwriting stuff is really good, and just having all those tools and trying seasons of different ones. And funny story on this thing. I know there is a video somewhere of I was in the bath in Japan in the ofuro. So this is where like inspiration strikes, right? I was sitting in the bath one time because I recently read this really great book called Limitless by Jim Quick, and he's talking about the brain and health of the brain and the things that you can do to like develop your reading and your remembering or your memory, but also how it's so important for our brains to actually have rest, times of rest. And a lot of times, so that means like actually being intentional about, I'm going to go outside, I'm going to sit under a tree, and I'm not going to take my phone, I'm not going to take a book, and I'm actually just going to sit there and let my brain process stuff. And a lot of times when you do that, and that's what I do with the song sometimes, a lot of times when you do that, the moment you've been waiting for just breaks through, because you've given your brain and your body this time to rest. And I think the more disciplined you can be with that, or putting that into your routine. So if you go for a walk, like actually go for a walk and don't listen to music and don't listen to a podcast, don't be actively doing something. It gives you this space for your brain to kind of unlock these ideas that it's churning away at in the background. So this is a moment that I had in Japan where I was sitting in the bath because it was the middle of winter, and you make these big Japanese baths that are just heat the water up like crazy, and it's like being in a hot tub basically. And so I'm sitting in the bath, I'm like just like letting the steam rise. I'm like I'm like, no, I've got an idea. Oh no. And so like, but because it's freezing cold in the middle of the winter, like I quickly try and like grab a towel and I run upstairs. I'm like, "Dabba, dabba, dabba," like try not to lose the thing. And I like grab this and I'm like, put it on, I quickly put it on. And I'm like, oh wait, make sure it's just like I'm not wearing any clothes. Like da 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 da. So there's like a video somewhere of me singing part of a song that went on to be one of my favorite songs. Like and it was this idea that I had while I was in the bath, while you're in the shower. So it's really good to have those tools handy, like to have space, but also have them where you can write something down or you can sing a melody. So I think that's like a kind of a funny story, but also a great lesson in documenting and being inspired. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. So I like what you say about having that. I think people always want to fill up their time. Like when they're going for a walk, they have to listen to something. And you're right. Sometimes we just need space.
Yeah, I think like sorry, just to interrupt there, say like dreaming as well is such a big one. Like people wake up and first thing in the morning is actually one of the best times to create. So if you can carve out that time, because I think like Paul McCartney, I believe, wrote Yesterday that way. Like he woke up and he had a dream about the song. And so I think his was initially like scrambled eggs instead of yesterday, it was scrambled eggs. Da, 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 da. I was like, okay, like, well, maybe Paul, you're not going to write a song about scrambled eggs. Maybe you need to like change the lyrics there. But like the melody was there and the structure. And I have another friend who woke up from a dream and he's a piano player and he saw these chords and he's like, I've never played those chords before. Like, let's see and he put them together and he wrote this song out of it. So it's like, it's such a good thing to, have that space and the time, because you really don't know what's going to come from it.
Yeah. So sounds like some good tips for people to have those things in their toolbox: voice memos, diaries, time. But also I like that one about the camera. That's interesting. And that's
that's a cool one. And I think as well to note, like the biggest thing is like take the pressure off. Like it's meant to be something that's enjoyable and you're expressing your heart to the world. So like for me, I've been playing, wow, how old am I now? So what, 3, 5, 20, I've been playing guitar for more than 25 years. So I've been writing songs in some form or another for more than 25 years. So, and I have these seasons where I can go back and go like, oh, look, I have thousands and thousands of files, but it's just because I chose to do it one day and I chose to do it another day. And there are many seasons where I didn't do it for weeks and weeks and weeks. So just to take the pressure off and actually enjoy it is such a big, I think, wrestle as well, because we have this feeling like I need to be productive, I need to be doing this thing, but to just actually enjoy it and take the pressure off, especially for people starting, to be like, oh, okay, I don't need to go out and buy an amazing microphone, an amazing thing. Like if I have a phone or if I have a piece of paper, like I actually have the tools I need, and just enjoy it, just slowly.
And what about other things for people's toolbox? Actual exercises. So let's say you are under a little bit more pressure. Do you get is there such thing as writer's block, or do you have that? Because it sounds like you're always getting ideas and you have lots of ideas from years back. So what are some exercises, or how do you overcome when you're stuck?
There's been plenty of times where I've felt stuck, plenty of times, but I love what there's a writer called Seth Godin, and there's also another writer called Stephen Pressfield. So Stephen Pressfield wrote this amazing book called um, The War of Art. So there's another book by Sun Tzu, which is like this ancient wisdom literature that's called The Art of War. But
Mm.
he wrote this book called The War of Art and how it is a battle. And he talks about basically there's this group of people like Seth Godin, Stephen Pressfield, Austin Kleon's another really great guy who talks about this process as well of there is no writer's block. It's actually just a myth. And there's bad writing.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's bad writing and there's bad ideas. But if you write the bad ideas out, eventually you're going to hit a good idea.
Mhm.
And if you feel like you're not a good songwriter, yeah, you might not be. Yeah, you might be writing bad songs, but as long as you're writing and finishing bad songs,
Mhm.
then once you finish 3 bad songs, you might get one semi-good song. And then you might write another 2 bad songs, but then you write a really good song. And then you go, oh my goodness, look at my growth. And so that's something that Ed Sheeran says. He says with songwriting, you just gotta, it's like a tap. It's
Mhm.
like a tap that's in an old house that hasn't been used in years. You turn the tap on, and first comes out, it's like no water, and then it's brown water, and
Mhm.
it's disgusting brown water. But if you leave the tap running,
Mhm.
eventually it's gonna run clear. And I mean, you look at his career, it's amazing. He's had like hit song after hit song after hit song because he really takes that on and says, I'm going to keep writing no matter what. And I might write a bad song, but I'm
Mhm.
going to finish that bad song and then I'm going to start a new song.
Mhm.
Um, that's it's definitely sometimes easier said than done. But I think the thing that I find that's really good about that is set up a discipline, set up a routine that works for you. So and that as well has to be reasonable for the season you're in. So for me right now, as a father of a 3-year-old,
Mhm.
working 4 days a week uh, in a kind of 9 to 5 job, but then also doing late nights at in pubs and stuff. Like I need to choose a routine that works for me and
Mhm.
that's sustainable, but also is a discipline. So say even if it's just once a week, I say once a week I'm gonna have just an hour and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write and I'm gonna record stuff no matter how good or bad it is.
Mhm.
And so sitting there with an empty page is not a good thing because that's just discouraging and it's like it's just this internal battle. So as long as you like you sit down, your job, and this is what Stephen Pressfield talks about, it's like your job is to sit down and fight the resistance, which is the blank page, and you just gotta write. So even if you write blah 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 blah, ooh, trees and apples and ooh, green grass. Oh, actually, now I'm thinking about coffee. Like, and then you can actually work with that and come back to it. And if you do that enough, eventually you're going to get into a good flow where you're writing stuff that you're happy with and you're enjoying.
Okay, good. Lots of
Yeah.
wisdom.